Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome back to the Who Cares Anyway podcast. I am your host, Chris Dohmen. This is an exciting night. We have a very interesting kind of guest, a first time for the show, if you will. And tonight, it's actually kind of it's a very interesting night because who do I have in the co-host chair? Not Kees, not Ryan, but I've got trusty old Nico Regoli. Nico, what's up, man? How's your week been?
It's been an interesting one to say the least. For those who don't know, I got apprehended by Cayman Islands authorities because apparently Finstock has a son, and he thought it would be a fun little joke to steal my spot on this week's reaction and put diamonds in my bag that he stole. I'm thankful to
Well,
be out of their custody and back here in the chair. And Suave Finstock, if I find you, we will have words.
yeah, but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Here's the real thing I gotta ask. Is this really, what you should have just expected when you came across a guy who looked very suspiciously like Bob Finstock?
I Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Like, I just had a quick conversation with him about his sombrero as I was passing by him on the street, and the next thing I know, I have diamonds in my bag, and I have international police on my trail. So I wasn't even like trying to be that much associated with him. It's just one of those things where I was wrong place, wrong time. The plot of Holes, if you will.
Oh God. Oh God. Now I'm getting taken back to back when everyone actually kind of liked Shia LaBeouf's, sort of, kind of.
Did you just call him LaBoots?
Yeah. Yeah, I borrowed Harloff's nickname for him. Big Whoop. Want to fight about it?
I'm just picturing like Boots from Dora the Explorer now.
Ah, there you go. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. And well, speaking of things from our childhoods, good lord, this has been a crazy ass week. So first off, before we get into anything else in the show, to all lovely women out there all across the world, happy International Women's Day from everybody here at Dedicated Art. Even though we are all straight white men, so I don't know if that counts for much, but I'd like to think that it's the thought that counts, because there are actually a lot of very important women who helped make me somewhat of a passable person, and that would include, my own mother, my sister, my grandmothers, and even on the fictional side, Princess Leia Organa. She, come on, man. How can you possibly go wrong with one of the greatest fictional characters of all time?
Uh, you can't. And to echo the sentiment, yes, happy International Women's Day to the many, many women who have had an impact on my life, and more importantly, kept me in check when I have needed to be kept in check. And more specifically, happy birthday to my mom. It was her birthday yesterday.
Oh,
And we're going to celebrate later on in the weekend. But yes, there are so many women in my life who have shaped me that I can't list them all in the amount of time we have. Uh, but I will say we should definitely try to do better to have more females on this program and on future dedicated to art
we're,
content as well.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. It would be an absolute treat if I could somehow get the Shire Wolves, for example, on this show, because I'm pretty sure that I could pull a couple strings and get Rachel to come on, because come on, Rachel's just the best. She is just a wonderful human being, and of course, and a great double Schmodown champion. For how long?
Oh
Well,
yes,
we'll see. We'll see. But
forever.
we'll see. I don't know. She might pull a Sam Levine, and right when she gets that triple crown, that's when she'll step down. What, you never know. You never know. But let's talk about the real issue here. Let's talk about something really important, something that's been on my mind, and it will not go away, because for some fucking reason, just when I thought I could escape, the all-powerful Jonas Brothers, the band that plagued my school during my middle school years, they played my ears, and they never, girls would just never stop fanboying over them. They wouldn't stop saying, "Oh, I don't know who's the cutest. Is Joe the cutest? No, it's gotta be Kevin. He's the diabetic, so he's the cutest. No, Nick is the cutest. He's got the best hair." It's like, shut up. Shut up. They're three talentless hacks who don't know how to play their damn instruments. And guess what? Just when I thought they'd broken up, they're back. Nico, please tell me that I'm not suffering alone.
I just find it weird that we're talking about them breaking up when really they never left each other's side. They still go to family reunions probably like every year and have dinner together on a regular basis because they are legitimately brothers.
Well,
like they are a family.
but they did that thing that, kind of like the well, okay, bad comparison given this man's latest the documentary about this man's latest issues, but kind of like the Jackson 5, like when they broke up. Tito and Maurice, they tried to do something, but of course, Michael was the one who kept going on his career. And I'm scared to watch that documentary. I know I need to. It's just going to hurt.
I will get to that documentary eventually. We've gotten off topic very quickly from Jonas Brothers to the horrible things Michael Jackson has done.
Yes.
But so okay. So I was one of the Disney Channel era kids, and so we're familiar with things like Camp Rock. The Jonas Brothers actually put out good music, but they could be insufferable depending on what perspective you're coming from. For example, they did that South Park episode where they made fun of the Jonas Brothers, more specifically their purity rings and what that kind of thing can do to children of a young age, like pushing religious.
Uh-huh.
Not your best impression.
Well, that's because I'm not really trying. My voice is a little sore at the moment, so I don't really feel like going in. I'll explain why in a moment, but keep going, Nico.
Fair enough. So, yeah, there's some good stuff to think back about with the Jonas Brothers, and there's some not so great stuff. Specifically, what South Park eloquently pointed out, which is selling sex to kids through a thing that's meant to prevent sex. Sort of reverse psychology, if you will.
And it worked.
But I don't really want to badmouth the Jonas Brothers because 2 years ago, Nick Jonas actually made a surprise appearance at Penn State's Thon event. So just for doing that, at least Nick is on my good side.
See, and for me, Nick's the one on my bad side, just because out of everyone's solo careers, his is the most insufferable. His solo music, honestly, has just been terrible, schlocky, offensive, misogynistic crap. Oh, and bro douchey. But that's fair. I'm not besmirching him as a person. I'm besmirching him as an artist. Same thing with Maroon 5. I know they do a lot of great charity work, but oh my god, they are the worst. They are just the worst when it comes to music. Hell, Joe with DNCE. You know what? Not bad. It's cute. Kevin, I actually like his solo stuff because it's very soulful, kind of bluesy, and Nick's just, like I said, insufferable. But yes, they're back. They're the bane of my existence once again. My times have not changed.
And we'll see. Who knows? Their first album back together could be a smash hit that you actually like.
Who knows?
It's gonna sell. It's gonna sell money. That's for damn sure. Simply because the teenage girl audience will never go away.
And plus, now you're going to have the mid-20-somethings, that are my age, who were the teenage girls back when they were first making it big. So, and now they're going to go back for nostalgia. or if they have kids, they're gonna make their kids listen to it, and those kids are gonna be just hating their lives, and I won't blame them.
I feel like this topic would be a good topic to have a woman on the panel for.
It would because
yeah.
now clearly yes, I'm saying everything from a very sarcastic point of view, because to be honest, from a career standpoint, this makes perfect sense. I just, it would be like if, but the reason I'm just so hateful about it is like, imagine if Nickelback were to break up, and then 10 years later they got back together and they were just as strong as ever. I would still be like, fuck Nickelback. But that being said, I think it's
Look at this photograph. We're all back together now.
Yes. And I see Jess Morgan, you are in the chat. Yes, fair enough. And again, I know that I'm the wrong person to talk about this topic. I know I am. But I still just have like trauma from this event. But that's all right. And apparently in the stream, Nico, you are kind of skinny. So you know what? Maybe I should try to fix that real fast.
I'm noticing the playback, and yeah, you've got me like compressed in a weird way.
Well, it's never intentional. But hey, wait a minute. I thought, well, never mind. I'm the one who's trying to get skinny and get in shape. But there we go. Now you look a lot better. All right. So, yes, now we're going to get into the first real topic of the week. And so, Collider Live.
We love that show.
But some shit went down this week. And I think we need to talk about it for just a little bit. But it wouldn't be Collider Live discussion without maybe one or two, sound bites stolen from that show. So forgive me if occasionally you hear something to the effect of. But that was the Makuga scream that I just played. So, oh yeah, or this classic gem, courtesy of Suave Finstock's old man.
When it goldfish here.
No shame. No shame. I just played Winning Goldfish here. So, oh my God, yes. And I was say, yes, you know what, Jess, going back to Jonas Brothers for 2 seconds, I don't blame you for the JT halftime show last year, and then this year was just abysmal. But yes, let's hop back into Collider Live. And did it ever seem, especially on Wednesday's show, did it ever seem like it was coming from a place not of discussion, but of just straight up bashing some of the not so great fans?
Okay, so just to clarify, because I don't want to mix Wednesday and Thursday up. Wednesday is the one where Christian called out the haters, correct? Okay, and Thursday was the was the fallout from that.
Yes.
So, listen, speaking as a wrestling fan,
no. You're thinking of Tuesday and Wednesday, because Tuesday was when.
No. I have my days correct in my head. I'm saying I want to support Christian's thing first. So I'm saying, speaking as a wrestling fan, it is nice to hear wrestling discussion on Collider Live, because representation matters, not just in the form of seeing someone who looks like you, but also someone who's into the same things you're into. And so, and so Christian defending the wrestling discussions on Wednesday made me feel good. Because, I hadn't seen it a lot in the Facebook groups in terms of Collider Live, but I have seen it in past chat rooms of YouTube videos that I've been watching. There have been many a time where a certain person who will remain confidential has badmouthed the art form of professional wrestling.
Oh, for God's sakes! We can say it. We can say his name. It's fine.
Either way,
Yes, sir.
Either way, and after the fallout of Wednesday, there were people who were like trying to defend the non-wrestling fans, and that they were saying you can just hear and feel that when Christian starts talking wrestling, the life gets sucked out of the rest of the room because nobody really has anything to add. At least that might be true for Makuga and Riley. But at the same
And
time,
Roxy to an extent.
she tries. She tries. There's a lot of things she doesn't really follow that's going on the show, but she tries to stay in the conversation no matter what the topic is, except for Rocky 5, but that's a different story.
Aye,
Um,
aye,
But what would you rather have? Would you rather have them talk about wrestling on air and Christian be the only one to chime in, but the people who are watching, who are wrestling fans, feel good about themselves because they're being included in the broader conversation? Or would you rather not have them talk about wrestling at all and essentially make those wrestling fans who watch Collider Live feel like they don't have a place at the table anymore?
Well, as long as the conversation doesn't feel like, then I think. Sorry, I just played the clickbait soundbite, so that was for me. No, okay. And look, I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't follow the WWE. I will not.
I know you don't.
I will not.
I
will not get back into it because it's been way too long. There's been too many new people, and I have no jumping on point. Because everybody that I knew way back when, they're gone.
And that's fair. And also, for clarification, there's more to wrestling than just WWE. There are so many other promotions. There's TNA, Impact Wrestling. There's Ring of Honor.
There's
Major League Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Lucha Underground, AAA.
NXT,
There's so much.
and then
There's so
the
much.
upcoming AEW, and it's like, okay, I don't mind hearing about it. I really don't. But I do feel like sometimes it goes on longer than it needs to. And that's me. But you want to know what I do? I just listen to the conversation. And if I choose to tune out that part, then that's what I'll do. But I'm also not one of these assholes who's just going to be like, "Ugh, fuck the wrestling talk. Where's the topic of the episode, or where's the tagline? This is just clickbait." You know, I know better than that. You know, and I care as much as I do because I actually know these fucking people. I've met them. I've hung out with them. I've had that privilege. But simultaneously, I'm not going to say it bores me, but it also doesn't hold as much of my interest as I want it to.
And that's fair.
So I just wish they could condense that conversation.
But with that said, now some people may believe otherwise, and time frame as to when this will become a thing is up for debate. But I think you and I both know that eventually there is going to be both a wrestling trivia schmodown and a TV trivia schmodown alongside the movie trivia schmodown. So TV fans, wrestling fans, movie fans, they're all going to have to eventually share. They're all going to eventually have to share that dinner table of conversation. And we're going to have to treat each other with respect and decency and give everyone equal props. Because I get it. Collider was essentially founded on a love of movies. But it's not the only...
Schmodown's no longer on Collider, though.
And you get where I'm going at here. Movies aren't the only thing going on anymore. There's more to the conversation now, and we're going to have to give everyone some equal time and equal levels of importance.
When it goldfish here.
No, and you're right. You are absolutely right. But I just personally feel, and actually Makuga did bring up a point. Granted, he didn't say it the right way, but I also do feel like, because yes, the show is Christians, but it's not just Christians. He's not the only producer on it. Who else produces it? Riley. Who else produces it? Cobster, Cody. Like,
And you know what?
And you know what?
Pokemon would not have a presence on Collider Live if not for Cody and Cobster
This is
doing
true.
those sound bites that starts the conversation of like, these guys don't know Pokemon, but it's fun to listen to them try to name actual Pokemon and completely fail at it.
Oh yeah, no, and it's and to be fair, and I'm not saying that they need to be just talking about whatever everyone wants to talk about, but I am just saying that like I feel like a little more diversification of topics as well as maybe condensing per day. So like, you know, like let's say like Tuesdays and Thursdays, they could have a little more wrestling talk, and then maybe on like Wednesdays, pull it back just a little bit. I'm just saying, and maybe give like, you know, Roxy 10 to 15 minutes to talk about whatever the hell she wants to talk about. You know, same thing with Bakuga, same thing with Roka or Darina. You know, and again, I'm saying this just because I love this show, and at times it is just a very helpful escape for my sanity.
And it's also a healthy escape for my own. I just recognize that the show is basically, it covers, here's what happened over the weekend or what happened yesterday, and a lot can happen in the span of a single day to 3 days. So if they want to talk about, hey, what's just fresh in our minds, and do we feel like venting about it, that's perfectly fine. Wrestling just happens to be one of the things that Christian likes to vent about, and Makuga likes to vent about venting about. But I think regardless of where you stand on how much time gets devoted to movies or to TV or to wrestling, I think we can all agree that Jeff Dye's interview was kind of hard to sit through this earlier in the week.
We agree to disagree. Because I found now, granted, I'm not defending him as a person. Because all due respect to Jeff Dye, I mean, granted, I've seen clips of him on YouTube. He is hilarious. I would love to see him perform live. I would not want to hang out with the guy, though.
And neither did anyone on YouTube who was listening to that conversation live.
But now to be fair, as much as, you know, I was in a little bit of a cringe mode during parts of that interview of that hour, I was fucking livid with that chat board. I was fucking livid. That was, frankly speaking, that was disgusting. The chat board was way worse than anything that came out of that man's mouth. I'm just going to be straightforward. That chat, you guys should be fucking ashamed of yourselves. And I'm not standing down from that. I'm not.
And I won't disagree with you on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So obviously we're coming at this as fans. We're coming at this from the perspective of people who really just need this show to just help with something in our lives. For me, it's to cure my boredom when I'm driving, you know, a shit ton of pizzas every single day, because that's my current job right now. I'm a pizza driver, and the pay is not that great, but it pays the bills. So I do what I have to do to get done, to get by. And sometimes music doesn't cut it, so I'll tune into Collider Live or whatever other podcasts. And just, guys, can we please not be such shitheads in the chats? I don't think I'm asking too much.
I don't think you are either.
Thank you. You know, and to those of you who think I am just, you know, being too much of a kiss ass to Harloff, well, here's all I gotta say to that.
Win a goldfish here.
You played Win a Goldfish here, didn't you?
You damn well better believe it.
For the record, I can't hear any of the sound bites he's playing
which
for the
is
people watching at home.
severely unfortunate, because I wish he could, but that's all right. As long as you guys are getting the message across, that's all that I care about. So let's move on. to finally a little bit of... Oh, actually, no, sorry. I do have one last thing about Collider Live. So, we all love Thrawn. He's great.
Oh dear, I know where this is going now.
I love his tracks. I really do. In fact, I've offered him a couple times now. If he ever has all of his raw files, send it my way, and I'll give him a free remix. Make it give it a little polish, make it sound nice and pretty. And I'd love to do that for him. David B. also, guys, both of them are just fucking talented. I adore their work. And even a couple of the new people. You know, like the ones who are getting there. They're not quite Thrawn and David B. caliber, but you know they got some fun ideas. They're pretty good. But there's another hat going in the ring, and it's gonna drop tonight.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
This is news to me.
That's why my voice is not quite 100%, because I spent about almost 2 hours today just doing vocal recordings, and I'm just gonna put it this way: if y'all like Linkin Park, you're gonna love this track. But it's also it might piss some people off. It's a conversation starter kind of song, so stay tuned. It'll drop probably at around 11 o'clock or so tonight after I quickly touch up the lyric video for it. But it's going to be up there, and it's going to be awesome. Can't wait.
So it'll be on YouTube before Case ever gets home from his job.
Ouch. But probably. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let us tune in to some movie news. This is all the stuff going on in the world of movies, and holy shit. Actually, quite a bit happened this week. Starting off, well, speaking of Collider Live, the topic that took them forever to get to on Monday, Steven Spielberg, listen, buddy, you are probably the greatest director of our time. Of this current era of filmmaking, I will make the argument that you are the best director. You have done so many wonderful films. Jaws, E.T., though I personally don't like it, but I know everyone else does. You've done the Indiana Jones trilogy, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, The Post, Lincoln, for God's sakes. You've done so many great films. Now, I know that you think you have legitimate reasons as to why Netflix movies should not count in further Oscar contention, but we all know the real reason is just because Ready Player One only got nominated for Best Visual Effects, and you're a salty old man. Now, for real though, I know that's not how it actually is, but to be honest, that's just how I read his entire argument. Nico, did you catch a similar vibe, or do you think he's actually onto something?
Maybe you say you felt that vibe. I usually feel that vibe more from James Cameron when he says stuff.
Oh my God.
But I can see where Steven Spielberg would also be coming off that way, because like he's been one of those guys in the business who has made a lot of technological advancements for the film industry. So, and I saw this with Elon Musk when he couldn't save those kids from the cave. He got very pissed off that he couldn't be the one to save them. So I see it with other creators like Steven Spielberg
who
would be like, Chris, are you there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm just listening, though.
Your face was so frozen, I thought, oh no, did I break up again?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, but coming off with the thoughts of Elon Musk in that situation, someone like Steven Spielberg not getting to do something like start up Netflix, which has become this big thing, I can see how he would get a little bummed by that. Something he would make like Ready Player One not getting recognized as much as he thinks it should. I can see how he would feel, and he probably thinks Roma stole a lot of the thunder that Ready Player One had. But Netflix puts out great content. For example, one of my favorite movies of all time is a Netflix film called The Fundamentals of Caring. It stars Paul Rudd and Selena
Oh,
Gomez,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, 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 yeah.
I love that movie so much. And we would not have gotten to see it if not for Netflix. It would not be as popular as it became if not for Netflix. Now, if it had come out in theaters, it might not have gotten the audience it deserved. But thanks to Netflix, it's gotten a lot of eyes on it, and it's done well, and it's praised. It's praised. So there's a possibility that more movies that are Oscar worthy are going to come out, and they're going to find their home on Netflix, and it would be an injustice to those movies if they were not considered for nomination or for even winning, because of people who are from the old days of the movie business who don't really want change unless they had something to do with it themselves. Uh,
Hmm.
so
I was about to say
I'm on your side. I'm
that's
on your
kind of
side on this.
that's kind of the ultimate ego stroke in a way, which it's kind of weird that I'm saying that about Steven Spielberg. Like, because the dude is 9 times out of 10 one of the most altruistic people on the face of the planet. But where is he getting this stick up his ass? It's not like him. Because he was always the rebel that was pushing for, things outside of conventional cinema to make it on to get Oscar contention. I mean, this is the guy who made Jaws, a glorified B movie, into a Best Picture nominee. So that's why I sadly I have to be a little bit more cynical about this, because this doesn't sound like him. Nothing of this sounds like him.
Here's what I'll say to that. There are plenty of altruistic people out there, you and me included, in the world. Like, we do good things for the sake of doing good things. But
So say,
I'm not.
Don't give me that much credit, Nico. Come on now.
But I'm not gonna lie. I'm a bit of a fame whore too. I like trivia for fun. I'm very proud of the fact that we raised over $7,000 through that, because it's going to a good cause, and we did it in my father's name. And so I did something special for him and for everyone who loved him and for everyone who who needed. But there was a part of me who was also really hoping for the success, specifically for me to do good things in the trivia aspect, to stroke my own ego. Like, I wanted to be in the spot to challenge for Multiplex's TV Fandom title. I wanted to be the first combat wrestling trivia champion, and so like like even the nicest people want a little bit of recognition for the things they do. They may not say they want the recognition, but there's a part of them that craves it.
And look, and that's 100% true. And look, Steven, again, I thank you so much for everything you've done, but for once in this conversation, please back the hell off, because the theater experience that you grew up with is nothing like the theater experience we have today. Now, to be fair, every time that I have an opportunity to see a movie in theater, and assuming I'm financially able to do so, I'm going to do it. Hell, I literally just today, I bought a ticket to see my favorite horror movie live on the big screen at the end of March. I'll be seeing The Descent at the Alamo Drafthouse in Woodbury, Minnesota, and I am stoked, because to watch a great horror film about cave diving gone wrong, yes, please, I need to see this movie on the big screen. So, and I think a lot of people view it more like me, where it's also a lot of people just can't afford it these days. Especially considering that now, back in the day, going to a movie theater was $2-3 per ticket. Nowadays, it's $10. then you got to throw in your popcorn and your drink. That's another $15. Then, if you want to get food or if you want to get nice seats, that's another $20 you got to fucking pay. And it's just like, oh my God. And then, of course, if you have a family, that's another $60 you're spending. It's like the movie-going experience, as great as it has gotten, is not the same as what it was back when, like, even when we were kids. So, look, there has to be a way to get around this, but we're just not there yet. So, moving on to the next story, and this one breaks my heart. This breaks my heart. One of my favorite movies of all time is School of Rock. It's a wonderful film directed by Richard Linklater, starring Jack Black, and one of the kids from that movie, Joey Gatos Jr., who played guitar player Zach Mooneyham, who is just a shredder on the guitar. He got arrested this week in Florida for stealing a guitar from a guitar store. Dude, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? This is why guitar players get a bad rep. Just saying.
To me, this just sounds like a regular day in Florida.
Oh, it is. That's the sad part. This is like a Tuesday in Florida. Oh my God. And then for the rest of us who grew up on School of Rock and we adore that movie, it's just embarrassing because we're like, Zach, why? But
hey, listen. So long as it wasn't Jack Black or Miranda Cosgrove, I'm fine.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot. That's where she got her big start there, right before Drake and Josh.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not liked her since. I'm sorry. Megan ruined Miranda Cosgrove for me. Just saying. Just saying.
I like iCarly. I'm just saying.
Well, and to be fair, I was... Okay, hold on. I was just starting to get out of watching Nickelodeon when iCarly started. So, yeah, wow, I guess we already are in that big of a generation gap, Nico. What the fuck? Oh, jeez. All right, Jonathan Peck, I see you in the chat. How's it going, man? Always happy to see you, sir. As we move on to our next story, which, oh boy. DC coming in with an actually okay decision for once. So, now, Will Smith, due to scheduling conflicts, had dropped out of playing Deadshot in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. But because they still want to use the character, they've got a replacement. Who do they have? Idris Elba. The guy who's in fucking everything these days. I mean, to be fair, he just got done with his Marvel contract because, well, spoiler alert for Infinity War, he did. And his appearance in Hobbs and Shaw looks like a one-film kind of thing, and oh my God, the movie looks just terrible, but I'm gonna love it. It's my kind of Fast and Furious movie, and I'm going to adore every moment of it. But Nico, what are your thoughts on Idris Elba taking over the role of Deadshot from Will Smith?
Okay. I'm still trying to piece together in my head whether this would count as a Will Smith bad decision or a Will Smith good decision. Because, on one hand, there still might be some...
It's all going to depend on how good Bad Boys for Life is. And we can't ask Makuga about that.
True. But, see, on one hand, there's still some people who are probably thinking it was a smart move by Kevin Feige to have James Gunn removed from Marvel Studios' relationship. So Will Smith is probably thinking James Gunn is directing The Suicide Squad. It might be a smart idea for him to exit the movie, say scheduling conflicts, and work on other things. On the other hand, regardless of who makes it, the Suicide Squad is probably going to make a crap ton of money, just
Yep.
like the first one did.
Mhm.
And the doesn't matter what the quality is of DC's future films, they're going to make money because people are going to want to see if DC actually made a decent movie for once. So yeah, was this a good choice by Will Smith financially? That's the major question here.
That's a fair point, but you want to know something? It's not the only DC decision that I think was actually pretty well done that this week anyway, because I doubt you saw this trailer, Nico, but I did for
For
the
which
new
movie?
for the new film Brightburn coming out later this year, and this is everything I wanted. A horror take on the Man of Steel origin story. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please.
How are they getting away with this movie legally?
Well, it's simple. They literally they don't say Smallville. They don't say Martha Kent. They don't say Jonathan Kent, Clark Kent. Literally, they just you can do the story. You just can't say any of the names established. Like literally, if I wanted to make a Star Wars knockoff, but I wanted to get away with it legally, and if I wanted to literally just basically shoot a remake of Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope, but wanted to get away with it, I could do the same exact story beat for beat. I just couldn't use any of the character names or designs. That's how you get away with it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. This movie, listen, I like the premise because it sounds like a lot of the um, alternate universe Superman stories that I've read. Like there's Ultraman from Earth 3. There's the Injustice version of Superman that goes batshit crazy after
Uh,
Joker causes him to kill Lois. Um, there's
hand through the fucking body.
there have been there's Reign of the Supermen where you have alternate versions like Cyborg Superman, Superboy Prime have been known to do evil things, but they at least have the comic book. They have the actual Superman costume to keep me invested in the thing. It might be a different Superman costume, but it's Superman. It's a version of Superman. This, because it's not affiliated with DC, I have every reason to believe they're going to do a lot of the things that would cause me not to want to see this movie. They don't have to worry about selling toys or anything, so they're going to go full on
Mm-hmm.
horror with it, which means I'm going to piss my pants scared shitless if I end up going to see it, and I don't want to subject myself to that. So thank you. Next.
I'm going to love every moment of this movie, and it is going to be awesome. All right. So, but speaking of something that's not awesome, why is Maleficent 2 happening? What story is there to tell? You already retold Sleeping Beauty in one film. It was called Maleficent. It sucked, in my personal opinion, because it took the four best characters of the original film and completely crapped on them. Because Maleficent, the mistress of all evil. Oh, she's the good guy now. She's just misunderstood and okay, trying to justify someone being evil because they are a victim of, let's call it what it is, rape. I have issue with that. But then also taking the three fairies from the original movie, who you could argue are the main characters of the 1959 animated film, and instead of them being complex, interesting, funny, and adding a lot to the story, oh, we're just gonna make them three ditzes who are, wannabe Golden Girls. Screw you, Disney. Screw you. Nobody wants Maleficent 2. Do you mind if I just move on, Nico?
I'll say this real quick.
Go for it.
Um, I've never really cared about Sleeping Beauty that much. I did not watch the animated film that came out so many decades ago. I did not watch the live action I did not watch the live action Maleficent with Angelina Jolie that came out a few years ago. So the fact that she's mean because she's a rape victim, this is news to me, and I don't know how to feel about it. But
Yeah.
the fact that I've never cared about this particular property to begin with, a sequel just coming out of the blue and being announced for later on this year.
Well,
It
was announced for 2020, but it got pushed up about 7 months.
Okay. So I'll say this. The fact that it's getting released this year, and we haven't really heard anything about it until like today, makes me wonder if Disney is just writing this movie off, and so they're wanting to cut their losses early. I can't help but wonder if there's like a financial reason for why they've pushed it up so soon without giving it any publicity up until today.
Oh, that's actually, well, to be fair, you hit my nail on the head, and was all I was going to close out this story with. Yeah, because I have no other thoughts. I hate Maleficent with a burning passion, partially because I do love the original film quite a lot. And I also love the character of Maleficent. Every time I play Kingdom Hearts, I always look forward to her scenes because, she is the mistress of all evil, and you can't explain there are some characters who you just can't explain why they're evil. She's one of them. It's like you could explain why a character like Darth Vader is as evil as he is, but you couldn't do that for Palpatine. He's just evil. So it's kind of one of those things, just to give a comparison, one that you'd probably understand a little better, Nico. But let's move on. I'm just sad and angry.
There.
Well, but to be fair, I'm not the only one, because you remember all the shenanigans with Roger Ailes a little while back, right?
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Well, there's actually going to be a biopic that basically starts to detail the fall of Roger Ailes. Thank God. And guess who's in this? You have John Lithgow as the man himself, and he's a fantastic actor, so no complaints there, with Charlize Theron, Nicole Kidman, and Margot Robbie. Sign me up. Sign me up.
Okay. Interesting. You showed me these show notes before several hours ago before we went on air.
I sent them last night.
Yes, you did. So I don't know why I'm like actually putting the pieces together in my head now. Like, oh, they're gonna play the beautiful women that Roger Ailes harassed. One would assume, at least.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think the viewers at home know how we both feel about Fox News. Like, Canada doesn't take them seriously as a news organization. They have them listed as a comedy network.
As fuck don't.
It's like Fox News was basically created to put out anti-Democratic Party propaganda. Like, they're part of the reason why Al Gore lost the election, because they called Florida for George W. Bush long before all the votes had come in. And by the time it was revealed that, Gore actually won both the popular vote and the Electoral College in Florida, it was too late. The news that Bush had won had spread like wildfire, and a recount got shut down because Jeb Bush had authority in Florida, and he was able to prevent a recount from happening. So Fox News was the first breadcrumb in a chain reaction of events that have been playing out since the year 2000. And since then, here's what I really hate about them, is because they talk so much crap. They spread so much propaganda. But the moment someone decides to actually fight back against them, Like, I don't think they're allowed to have a presence at the Democratic National Convention
Nope.
in the next one that's coming, and they're complaining about it.
Gee, I
They're
wonder
complaining about
why.
it. So like this is snowflakism at its best in that regard, and
And I
it's
say, and
just
weren't they the ones that coined the term?
yes, I believe they were. Uh,
Hmm.
if unless it was like Ben Shapiro or Alex Jones or somebody else, but
No, it.
nevertheless, I'm very happy that this film is getting made, and I hope it shows the absolute worst things Roger Ailes has done, so people will
Can
will realize how
get
bad.
it?
Yeah, yeah, I want them to get it because there's still so. Listen, they were promoting Roy Moore in a positive light.
Oof.
Roy Moore, who supposedly had sex with 14-year-olds for several decades and almost won his election. But while they're promoting him happily, Ilhan Omar can't say we should rethink the terms of our deal with Israel. The world we live in, I see why you're so cynical about it sometimes, because it's so screwed up. And Fox News is one of the reasons why it's screwed up. Roger Ailes is one of the reasons why it's so screwed up. And I hope this movie really shows how much of a shitbag he was, how much of a shitbag organization Fox News is, and nobody ever wants to watch it again. And if you watch that movie when it comes out and you feel positive about Fox News or about Roger Ailes, by the time you leave the theater,
look,
I will shun you from existence.
Well, okay. Now I won't be quite that harsh because I now granted, yes. Do I just think that Fox News is the worst? Yes, I do. But that being said, we can work with people who support Fox News. We can still work with people who identify as the Republican Party. Because granted,
we can,
not,
but maybe not
I'm,
this iteration of Fox News. Maybe
oh,
not this
no.
iteration of Fox
Not in
News.
this iteration. No.
And for the time being, they have to be held accountable for that reason.
Yes, they do. Especially Sean fucking Hannity. And I will not back down from that opinion, motherfuckers. Because, oh, man. Woo. I would love to go 12 rounds with that guy. Verbally, of course, because
I'll do the physical 12 rounds.
All you gotta do is push him over. It's a quick, easy thing. Like I'm saying I don't want to because it'd be too easy for me. I'm saying that. But look, yes, I want this movie to show us what. Never mind his political affiliation. Never mind the fact that this was a guy who had power. Just what someone who is an abuser can do. And why we are now taking this so fucking seriously.
Especially on a day like today, International Women's Day.
Yes.
Like this day is meant to make women feel empowered, and that man made so many women feel so low.
Yes. And the sad thing is, we let him get away with it for too fucking long. But now the tables have turned, and granted, I never wish death on anyone, but considering he's no longer with us, good fucking riddance. So, we have one last news story before we go to break, and this one is just real fast. Galaxy's Edge. The Star Wars attraction, which is just about done, which sadly I'll never get to. I'll never get to go until like 2022 or something, but that's okay. Opening up, it was announced it'll be opening up May 31st at Disneyland, Disney Resort, and then on August 29th at Disneyland's Hollywood Studios. I wish I could go. I wish I could go have some real blue milk.
So I want to eventually go to one of these parks. I've been to Disney World multiple times, but this is the first time Disney World will have like a gigantic Star Wars attraction a Star Wars dedicated park. My thing is, I feel like I'm gonna need to at least wait a year until after it opens, because there's so much hype about it right now that there will probably be the crowds will be so huge you might not get to do anything while you're there except wait in line and talk to a stormtrooper. I'd like to wait until it's. I'd like to wait until the season is right. I'd like to wait until the timing is right, and I'd like to wait until the hype has died down a little bit, because then that means lines will be shorter. You can enjoy more of the experience, and also at the rate I'm at right now, I only have time for maybe like a trip that lasts 4 or 5 days, and some of those days will likely be spent outside of Disney. If I were to dedicate an entire Disney trip, it would require.
It would be to just Galaxy's Edge. Let's be real.
Yes. Yeah.
So
exactly.
But yes, so with that, I'm also very excited for this for the opening, and I'm just so sad I won't be able to go for a long time. But that's okay, because you know what? Maybe I can go somewhere else. Maybe I can just use my imagination and picture something else until I can actually afford to go myself. And to help me with that, we have our special guest who will be joining us on the other side of the break. Make sure you guys stay tuned for Christopher Smith from the Sci-Fi Tabletop RPG Seize the Imperium. We'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I did not think we were going to see stormtroopers coming to arrest everybody at the end of this episode. That was right out of left field. But in hindsight, the way that Tam was looking at Kaz as he was walking out of that secret meeting with Yeager and Doza, I can't help but wonder, was she the one that...
turned him in.
Yeah. So... Like
Tam, you.
I was about to say, I could throttle Tam right now. I could just throttle her neck and strangle her. I'm sorry, you don't. Why? Why would you rat everyone out like that, Tam? They're going to kill you. Not just everyone else. You're dead too.
Let's just clarify. We don't actually know if she placed out that call.
No, we don't know. But
we don't know it, but come on.
And the big hashtag going around was, as part of a new progressive society, hashtag give Elsa a girlfriend. Is this a way that we can naturally do that and still have it completely fit in with the lore established? I say yes. I think this could be a great way to do that.
I've actually also been a supporter of that idea since I heard of it. So, yeah.
I'm honestly wondering if she even needs a relationship. Like, this could...
You have failed me for the last time, quarterback. Can you imagine? You're actually off the rails.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational shotgun play.
The way to go, Kalai. You really have hit the rock bottom. Put it in your pants and do a fucking dance in. Just didn't see any fucking movie.
I really hope somebody makes a metal version. That would be great.
Yeah, it would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's the boss now, bitch? That's right. That's right. Oh, I'm gonna join a tournament with someone else because you're too busy. I'm gonna get Mark Riley. How'd that work out, huh? You're on my brother. You go with Riley and you just forget who you are? You congratulate him after the match? What is wrong with you? Who are you? You know what? I'm glad you didn't win the belt. You don't fucking deserve it. don't deserve it, because without that belt, you're nothing. You know what? Without me, you're nothing.
Oh no! Oh no!
Alright? Hey, look. Alright? Tell me. Okay? Alright?
Essentially, well done.
Oh no! I am. We are.
I think we're just gonna go straight from the end of this video into video 2 while we all process what just happened. You can find him at Dutch Movie Guy. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at D2A Channel. You can find me at Skywalker Dohmen.
And you find me dead. Bye.
Yeah, I would say we'll see you later. Bye.
No. No.
Right, and welcome back to the Who Cares Anyway podcast. I'm once again your host, Chris Dohmen. Once again, joined by my co-host, Nico Regoli tonight, as well as I said at the top of our show, our special guest from the new Sci-Fi tabletop RPG, Chris Smith. The game is Seize the Imperium. You can check him out on Kickstarter right now. Once again, Chris Smith, welcome to the show, man. How are you doing tonight?
Thanks for having me, Chris. I really appreciate being here tonight. Cool to talk to someone who's very interested in the sci-fi genre.
Absolutely. And, you know, when I randomly just came across the game on Twitter, kind of like with our episode we had with Joe Finlay from the Miscast Commentary. Like, literally, I'll just come across something on Twitter that piques my interest. And, yeah, big shock. I'm a sci-fi fan because, you know, obviously, I love Star Wars. I love Star Trek, Blade Runner, Dune, the novel, of course, and the miniseries, which the miniseries was pretty good, but yeah, and then you know there was just something about the artwork that I was seeing that just really drew me in. So, for the audience on the chat, tell us a little bit about what Seize the Imperium is,
Sure.
and a little bit about how you came up with it.
Sure, absolutely. So Seize the Imperium is a deck building card game. It's a construction game. You know, I'd call it like a cousin to Magic the Gathering, you know, but with science fiction as the theme, you know, instead. I've been gaming for about 30 years, you know, so I was there when Magic started. One of my favorite games was always Vampire the Masquerade, and I used some elements from that, the politics and stuff like that, and combat. And about 3 years ago, I've always been sort of tinkering, you know, with little game design and getting 10, 20% of the way there over my lifetime. And it really occurred to me that no one had ever done a sci-fi version of Magic. You know, but as we all know, sci-fi's never been more popular over the last decade plus, you know, with Star Trek and Star Wars constantly going through revival and doing box office despite themselves, you know. And so I said, well, why don't someone do it? And I figured out right away, because it's a huge project, you know, to design all these cards, you know, and get all these artists together and to create a game. It's a overwhelming undertaking. I probably started out too big to start with the game, but I really wanted something that people could play together, enjoy, and get together weekly, like you said, you know, and construct decks over time, because that's the best times I had in my life with my friends when we were in college and stuff like that, playing Magic and constructing decks and stuff like that to foil what someone brought last week. You know, so I've been involved in game mechanics, whether it's RPGs or cards or tabletop. Twilight Imperium is one of my favorite board games. So that's sort of related to that. And I said, why don't I just take like a kitchen sink approach? Because that's what Magic did in the beginning. I think that's one of the things that makes it appealing is it's whatever you want it to be. There's an orc or a dragon on it. It's not Smog, or something, but it's Smog. It's that sort of thing. But you can own that character when you play with it in a card. And it seems strange that all the big science fiction board games and card games are all franchises. I mean, yeah, duh. Who doesn't want to play Star Wars?
No, and that's actually a fair point because like when you have to think about it, there really aren't that many original stories with tabletops. Like, because the most original that I can really think of would be something like Magic the Gathering, but and that had its own set of offshoots and rip-offs. I mean, as much as I love Yu-Gi-Oh, it was a glorified Magic rip-off.
It is, and so that's the thing. I said, why don't I build my own universe? It was weird because it's not anything that predated the game. So it's not like I took some alt RPG plotline I had from college and made it into a card game. I just sat down and said, I've been watching sci-fi my whole damn life. I've watched every television series and movie I can think of and taking aspects of it. So I wanted players to be able to go, yeah, I can do the Hoth Trench, fight, or different aspects like that remind them of that. And so I just started cobbling together the universe, and I wanted it to be a conquest game, where you take planets from other players. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
The short story is basically, a parallel to Star Wars, which I'm sure people will say. It's all right. Again, it's sort of the fall of the last emperor, and then all these upstart worlds are going, all right, I'm going to be the next, ruler of the galaxy, and then, building another Imperium through might. So you quick have to build up your fleets, and you can buy planets, but that becomes unfeasible real quick, and then players end up starting to take planets from each other, trying to get to 20 points of world cards. And that's how it operates. It's very simple, but like I said, I wanted something that was mainly fleet-based. That's the heart and meat of it is fleets bashing each other. It's what we love about Star Wars and Star Trek. We love that sci-fi broadsides, of ships shooting each other and cosmic battles. But then I also wanted troops in it too, so you can have that aspect too. And then I brought in drones, so we have robots with first strike and stuff like that. And the concepts, again, that I've taken from card games that I've played over the years.
Uh-oh.
Mechanic in here that's like, wow, I've never seen that before. But it's to me, it's
all right, sorry, Chris. I'm going to cut you off for just 1 second there. We're getting a little bit of technical difficulty. All right, now, sorry. Now.
What's that?
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Okay, so, all right.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Better. Yes, sorry about that. Continue.
Oh, yeah. I just saw the catch up there. Yeah. So I really wanted to create a sandbox kind of sci-fi player to down and 5% of the deal. And so I'm working on that, contracting artists. Actually, I have about 3 dozen artists that I've hired internationally. I went through Upwork.com. You can find tons. I have probably only 3 artists that are American.
Wow. I was about to say, and speaking of some of the...
and most of them are international, for you name it, Russia, Pakistan, India. It's amazing. People out there, because...
No, sorry. Yeah, okay, sorry. So, another little...
Another lag.
There we go, but now we're good. And speaking of the artwork, I mean, holy crap. I'm popping up some of the stuff that you can see on the website, which will be on the link in the replay of this episode. I forgot to put it in before we went live, so my apologies on that one. But this is just some of the work like that you'll see on the website and on the Kickstarter, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, this is the kind of stuff that I wish I had access to for my own ideas as far as original content. And holy crap, man, you found yourself some talent. You found yourself the right people to help you out with this project. So, congratulations.
It's been a really interesting process because and these people are getting online through this platform and doing this sort of game design stuff and sourcing people. And I'll check their portfolios out, and they'll send me stuff, and they'll knock these off in a day or so, and they're just amazing, And you think you might have trouble communicating with people in other countries, but you don't, And it's a really interesting process what they bring to the table, and I've had so much fun just managing the art and trying to figure out what to use. And the cool part is it starts to evolve over time. So I'll ask for a certain character, and they'll send me something because we're talking sci-fi. They'll turn him into a cyborg, and I didn't ask him to be a cyborg, And the next thing you know, I write the card, and now he's a cyborg. So the game sort of has also been evolving based on the art.
I was about to say, yeah, we certainly know about working with an international staff because our other co-host lives in Holland, and usually if he was on tonight's show, like this would be like oh god, pushing like 2 or 3 in the morning for him, and like this is the kind of stuff that that we're used to this level of communication across time zones, which. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt, but, it can work if you just know when to hit them up. Luckily.
They're jamming our transmissions.
I was about to say, yeah, it's someone's jamming.
Right, yeah, message me or in the middle of the night or something like that, and so I'll wake up and they'll have done the art because
Can you see us? Can you hear us?
There, I think.
All right, hold on. Yep, there we go. Now we're good.
I can see you and hear you. Yeah.
All right.
I keep getting a little poor network connection message. Like I don't know that already.
Yes, and to be fair, the weather's only gonna get worse here in Minnesota over tomorrow, supposedly. Not looking forward to that.
It is March. Snowmageddon.
Snowmageddon, indeed. Jesus Christ. But, okay, so now, speaking of being from Minnesota, now, was there something like living in this, in this crazy-ass state that helped inspire you in any way when you were developing the game initially?
I don't know. I mean, I've been in Minnesota for about 20 years now, and then I was raised on the East Coast originally, a lot of Pennsylvania, a little bit of Jersey.
Pennsylvania,
near Allentown, Bethlehem. So they're actually a lot similar. In fact, when I moved out here, everyone's like, "Yeah, you don't want to move out to Minnesota. It snows all the time in Minnesota." And then I get out here, and then we have the nor'easters out there. So it's tough in the cold part of the season. I'm not an outside activity guy in the winter for sure. So. But yeah, it helps me, really flow my juices. I like some of the cold, barren worlds. One of the themes of the games is the ancient worlds, and there's ancient artifacts around that the players can use. But there's certain danger to those, and I like that idea of burned out worlds and the folly of. So I think that's how it's some.
Awesome. And so now, so when you're designing or when you're telling the artist what your designs have in mind, like do you have your ideas fully written out before you give out the quote-unquote assignment, or do you just give them a general idea and then you let them do their thing?
Yeah, it's a combination of both.
Okay.
There's some of them, like one of them, I always love this one, and it had this side honorable. I shot that to them, and I said, "I want the character sort of looks like that." came back with a nice mercenary, this like silverish armor and stuff like that. Sometimes I usually provide them. I find that helps a lot, you know. And there's great art out there because I put all these cards here and I print them out of a photo and I tell them, wow, these are cards really nice. Where'd you get them made? And it's like they're just prints out of a photo printer, you know. But the art that you find on the internet at random is really cool stuff. But then I'll take that and shoot that to the artist, saying, I want something that reminds me of this. Sometimes they get a little too close, and it's like, well, you need to put your own spin on it. This looks like
just to avoid the copyright and whatnot,
of what this artist. Right. And like one time, I got character art submitted to me, and that the character was cool, and I'm going, I know that background behind the character. And then I went and looked, and I had used that background. There's that sort of danger, too, because American copyright laws and stuff like that doesn't necessarily translate over there. You know, and I've had, too, where I can pick out, like this character here, I can pick out some of the aspects from another drawing I've seen. And I know so I know they'll take inspiration. But some of the artists will just make up some of their own stuff. Like, you know, this character here, I asked them for a general, and I'm sure the base image is Benedict Cumberbatch, just with a beard on there, you know. And another one they did was a very young Helen Mirren. And once I started, I know this woman. And when I started searching for her, under Helen Mirren, I found photos that looked like that. So, in some instances, I'll just say, yeah, I want this politician character. She's a human. She looks rich. She might have like genetic manipulation, like Khan.
And
you know,
freaking
and
awesome
then
cane to go with it.
right. But that's the thing. I'll get everything. The one interesting part is it's maybe a little harder to find sci-fi artists. It's easier to find fantasy artists.
Oh my
so like
God,
when I went out there, there's all these profiles that have they have all this fantasy art on their portfolio. And I'd be like, well, I need sci-fi artists because I don't want to have to explain to you what a cyborg is. You know, and some of those concepts, or what the difference between a battleship and a destroyer, you know, or
which,
you
yeah,
know, and
that's
so
actually
didn't have that background.
That's totally a fair point you bring up, because I remember a few times myself I've gone browsing around on DeviantArt trying to just find, you know, good sci-fi artists, and it's extremely difficult to actually like locate them, at least not ones who are incorporating a lot of fantasy into their artwork. Like, real quick, like why do you personally think that is?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it's just the predominance that fantasy has always been at the front of gaming and that genre. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, and maybe because it's easier to image an orc. You know, I mean, we're all programmed from the days of Tolkien. You know, and I think that's
well,
who
not
we
so much
are
this
today.
guy, but I am, yes.
But you know what I'm saying?
I'll get to it.
That has created our fantasy universe. You know, much more before anything else. Before then, what do you go back to? War of the Worlds? You know, there's not a lot of science fiction that Star Wars. That's why Star Wars is Star Wars. That is the Tolkien for our age. That is the new spring point of a lot of new sci-fi fantasy and the way people look at that. You know, and so I think it's really starting to expand out there. But then, you know, again, I don't know if that's a cultural thing, because again, I'm hiring internationally. A lot of these artists don't see a lot of science fiction, you know, other than when they see Star Wars, you know, whatever the Americans bring over, you know, but they're probably not watching their Star Wars version of it. I mean, that's a real American or Asian, or there's certain areas where we're producing it. And so I think that's why it's hard to find that talent out there. And then, like anime is big. And I tried to pull some of those influences into the game too, because I know anime is really popular. I've enjoyed a lot of that stuff in the past. So I take all those little aspects and put it into my toolbox for the game, because I want every player to identify with something when they're looking at the game. Go, oh, wow, that reminds me of so-and-so and this and this and this. As opposed to Star Wars, I'm tired of Star Wars, or I love Star Wars, and you're not doing it right.
Which, fanboys,
it's a new world, and I don't know what it is, and I think that's what we find intriguing, and why we pick up new games, because I don't handle backstory. I want something new, and so that was sort of my intention.
And it actually does show in a lot of the artwork, and a lot of what a lot of the descriptions of what Seize the Imperium is going for, because that's the other thing I really like about it, is that yes, it obviously it feels very familiar, but it also feels in a way almost kind of practical, like you could actually be there.
Right.
And that's
right.
And that's something that and again, that's part of why everyone loves Star Wars and Firefly and a lot of these other franchises, because like they establish these universes that are fantastical but practical and real. And I feel like you're just as much there, man. When you were first just writing down the first drafts, was that a priority for you when you were writing that?
Well, the biggest thing was I did want to sort of, like, if you're going to create a sci-fi universe, and I wanted to break it down to all the classic tropes, and so I started there. Okay, we're going to have fleets, and in fleets you have battleships, you have destroyers, you have cruisers, you have fighters, then we have troops. You have mechs, you have hovers, you have vehicles. And so I split those all in those classifications, and then when I started doing the world cards, okay, we're going to do the Terran system. That's a no-brainer. Got to have Earth, Mars and that sort of stuff, but then after that, strangely enough, I never picked up another external source. So I never went to Alpha Centauri or anything else. I made up all the names of my worlds outside the Terran system, because again, I want it my own, as opposed to someone saying, oh, well, hell, this Alpha Centauri, I saw that in another book, and I think you might have cross-stole that, and so I want to try to keep it generic as possible, but to myself, and that sort of tricky. Just like in Magic, the Planeswalkers, the reason they did that is it really helps you identify with the universe they're building. Now those characters, years later, they all have personality. I don't know Magic anymore in the Planeswalkers, but I recognize each of them when I see them again and again and again, and that's the same sort of thing I want to do. The other conscious choice I made is I excluded aliens from the game. So it's a Dune kind of, human-only world, mainly because I enjoy... Like in Star Trek, I enjoy Klingons because I know Klingons, and I've watched them through multiple series and movies, and they mean something to me, But then when you start bringing aliens into someone who's never seen them before, does that mean anything to you? I mean, we all know who Greedo is, but really, why do we? He's in 30 seconds in a movie.
That's true. We almost never get time with another Rhodian throughout the entire saga.
Right. And so what does that really mean? So if I tell this artist, make this Bughead 3 alien guy, is he really identify with them? And there's a lot of card games and board games. I'm watching them on Kickstarter all the time, and they're doing the 4X Conquest, series, like I am, but they'll come up with this insectoid race and then the mechanicoid race and stuff like that. And they're cool, but I don't know if I identify with them because I've never watched them in anything. So it sort of works against them at the same time.
And let's be real, half the time we don't really get like a human trait we can identify with them. Like, for example, going back to the Klingons. Like, the only reason we identify with the Klingons is because they are so clearly the Soviet Russia. It's not even funny. They are so Soviet Russia.
Right. And so what I decided, I said, I think there's enough to explore in the human question. So my characters, besides having the classifications, admiral, general, assassin, whatever, I have 6 different races. I have humans. I have Gen Ogs, which are, con. I have cyborgs, which is cheap cybernetics. I have nanogs, which are humans who are, with built-in nanites flowing in their bodies, the higher class. And then I have AIs, which are, independent beings, and then androids, so AIs trapped in a body, And so I have 6 different technological race classes, if that makes sense, in the game. And so that allows me to do it in a different way and explore those sort of aspects, because I think the human condition is what we always identify at the end of the day, and everyone's done the alien thing anyway. So there's nothing I can do that hasn't been done anyway. And again, that looks like Greedo, or Snaggletooth. It's just those parallels will be drawn. You know it. So I just rather stay away from that and just stay to the human stuff, and I think that it'll just be interesting, Again, enough people are doing the alien thing.
That's a great point. That is a fair point you brought up. Nico, did you have a question you wanted to ask Chris?
No, I did not. I just cringed a little bit when he said cyborgs and AI and androids because I am someone who Terminator was a traumatizing movie for me as a child. So any mention of that, and I kind of want to leave the room.
I guess you aren't looking forward to Robo-Apocalypse when it comes out, then, huh?
I will stay away from it as much as possible.
I'll be honest. I probably am not going to care for it, but I'll check it out. But it'll probably just be like, I've seen better.
Right.
But no, so. And that's actually, dude. Like, seriously, I'm geeking out hearing about this because this just, as I told you off air right before we came back from break. Like, this is the kind of crap that's right up my alley. This is the kind of stuff that I'm always trying to look for. In terms of an original story in some form of sci-fi, and from hearing you describe this world and stuff, like I'm just picturing a movie now. God damn it! It's like, or I'm picturing like a really expensive like TV show or like an actual video game based on this game. Like, do you have any ambition outside of the medium of tabletop for it?
Yeah, not at the moment. I do want to blow this into full franchise mode. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I would love to be the next Magic. It was sort of funny because in this process of designing the game, and how whether it's used constructed decks or static decks and stuff like that, I interviewed a lot of people, and there are people, it's like, don't make it like Magic. It's like, yeah, but Magic's making millions and billions.
Yes, it is.
At one point, I forget what year it was. It was maybe 15 or 16. Hasbro made more money off the Magic franchise than they did the Star Wars franchise.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
And this was them coming off of Force Awakens. So that's...
Yeah. So
that says a lot.
The money is there. You go to any card game shop on a Friday night. You go right now. You guarantee that room will be packed with people playing Magic. And that's what I sort of wanted to do. I mean, everyone says you can't break that barrier, but whatever. At some point that ends, and I don't care. I'll do it for my own fun.
You totally could. I mean, shit. I mean, look at George Lucas. When he was trying to write this, not Flash Gordon movie, everyone was saying, dude, you can't be J.R.R. Tolkien. Oh, yeah? Hold my beer. So...
that's one of the things that I always appreciated about that, and I'm trying to capture those aspects. The problem I have with Star Wars is we ruined it over time with explaining it, like the midichlorians and crap like that. But one of the things that always intrigued me was when they introduced the droids in the original Star Wars movies. They were intelligent, they were independent, they had restraining bolts. Were they property? Were they not? They never really explained it in the beginning. And that was really intriguing because I wanted to know more. And I think that's one of the things that no one realizes is why that universe means so much to us, because he sculpted it very specifically, and like a really good writer, you don't give it out all the way. Unfortunately, later on they did, but whatever. You got to write or die.
Yeah, well, I mean, and sure, and as someone who still does love the prequels, even though I have my problems with them, that was one of them. Like, and to be fair, the Clone Wars series, sure, it fixed that problem for me, but that didn't, it's like the problem was still there. But so now hearing about all of this, so let's say, let's say I'm listening to the show and I'm hearing you talk about this great stuff, how could I be able to pitch in?
Well, there's a couple ways. Like I said, the Kickstarter is running now through the 27th. So just look for Seize the Imperium. You do word search, you'll find it. And you can pledge to the game there, either money or pledge to back a copy. There's versions for $29, $30. It's really easy to get, and it gets you 4 decks. Otherwise, you can go to seizetheimperium.com, and I have a website there. And you can also find us on Facebook. And the Facebook site has endless cards on there. I post every day cards and behind the scenes and stuff like that. So just join. You can subscribe on seizetheimperium.com or follow me on Facebook. Obviously, Twitter. I've figured out to try to get on all these media outlets, but if anyone really wants to check it out, also seizetheimperium.com has print and play versions too. So I sent out decks to playtesters last fall, and then I posted those PDFs on the website because that's really popular too. If you go to the Kickstarter, there'll be a link there also, so you can print out your own copies of it. And I'm looking at, there's this website I just got exposed to called Tabletopia, which is like a digital playing. So I play like Sci-Fi on there, and so I'm trying to figure out how to upload the game on there so players can do the sandbox approach there also.
Okay. Oh, that's actually really cool because see now, as I did mention off screen, like because I'm, you're local for me, so I want to support you in that regard, and also because it's something that does really interest me, and like, yeah, I'll definitely give what I can, and I'm not gonna lie, I really hope you can make it happen for that digital tabletop thing because, again, that's something I could certainly give an hour or so of my time per week to.
It's unbelievable. Go check it out. Like I said, I was fooling around with Skype for a little bit, and they have the digital cards there in a stack, and you can put your cursor over and flip each card and pick up little counters and move them around the table. It's the most amazing thing. And you can play hot seat, or I think you can play over online. Like you can do like 1 or 2 games free. And then if you start doing multiple games, they have a subscription service, obviously, so it's easy to get in for free. So that's why I want to get my game on there in the next week, to get that sort of extra traction, because this is just the beginning. Once I do this, then my plan is to start releasing expansions. So I'm going to go on to Pirates, Mercenaries, the Imperium, the Caladium, the Rim. The Ancients aren't as dead as we would think they are dead, and so. And that's what I want to do. I want to keep telling an evolving story with each expansion, again, like Magic is doing now, in that sort of process. Because I really think that people are hungry for this sort of product in this day and age. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to go see every Star Trek and Star Wars movie that comes out. But at the same time, I think we're reaching that burnout point right now as a gaming sci-fi, universe, for consumers. And
yeah,
I think soon it's going to fold on itself, and they're going to be looking for new stuff.
That's especially proven itself in something like Halo, where, yes, a lot of people were excited for Halo 4 when it came out, but I cannot name a single person who was actually excited for Halo 5 as soon as that trailer dropped. It's like, cool. There's another Chief guy who's going to take out Chief. Cool. Who cares? You're rating it T. Don't rate it T. It's Halo. It's rated M for mature motherfuckers. Don't forget that. But so when now you're building this thing. You're building this thing. You're putting it together. You're writing down what all the cards do, and so refresh my memory. Now, is there an actual specific story to tell with this, or is it literally just where kind of like almost like a D&D sort of thing where you can literally craft your own story as your general or whomever?
Right. I didn't want to get too much into it. All the cards, like especially the characters, do have their flavor text lines on them where they talk a little bit about their backgrounds. And some characters will reference the other characters. But obviously, I sort of made that up while I was typing up the card. A lot of these cards invent themselves as I'm writing them, or, hey, that art reminds me of this. Now I'm going to write her story that way because of the character that the artist drew. So it's really strange. It sort of evolves outside of me, or from my subconscious. But at the same time, I didn't want all this specific stuff because otherwise, then I'll figure out how to get involved in a Star Wars franchise where Han Solo does this and Leia does this, and you can't do that. No.
Or you find yourself writing an adaptation of Knights of the Old Republic. What?
Right. And that's the thing. I didn't want to take that too far. Like a lot of people said early on, well, why don't you have factions? Because like my battleship.
I was gonna say I noticed
a battleship.
I noticed you didn't have that, which to be honest, that is refreshing as hell. Thank you for that.
Well, and that's the thing. That's a lot of these games like Legend of Five Rings and stuff like that. Again, they're based off a very strict storytelling universe. So you guys sort of build it that way. Here, I want people to say, well, this is the way my empire looks. I'm doing nothing but infantry. I'm doing these fighters, and I'm going to do a whole bunch of espionage. But I'm not doing it because this happened that way in the Star Trek movie. Can I just still do my own version of sort of what I envision the Klingon Empire to be military-wise? Maybe, but it'll be very loose association because, again, my whole intention is to give this sandbox to everyone. And I guarantee everyone will look at a card and go, oh, I know this from this and this from this. Well, sorry, that's unavoidable at this point. That's true. There is nothing new under the sun, and I'm a creation of all my sci-fi influences over the years. But I think that's what's going to make it cool is everyone will identify with this different aspects and like going, cool, this makes me feel like I'm doing the trench run, there's a bunch of anime stuff I want to take ideas from again, because you'll go, this is cool because let's face it, every time you open that booster pack of Magic cards, you go, oh, I remember this from Legend, or I remember this from, Lord of the Rings, or Labyrinth, or
going 1985's Legend, Ridley Scott. Well done, sir.
I know. I got a self-reference deep sometimes, but that's the whole thing too. There's so much in the science fiction universe that I want to pull in. I mean, I just finished the other month binge watching The Expanse. I mean, that show is amazing.
Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you for answering that question for me, because I've been wanting to check it out. I just haven't had the time to. But
spend the time. Don't listen to any of the haters out there and they ruin the show. Blah blah blah. It's really refreshing because it's science fiction without the Star Trek safety net.
Awesome. So Nico's just stepping out for just a second, but before we, and no, this is, oh God, dude, like this is Again, this is so much right up my alley. Now,
I'm glad I made you speechless. I've watched enough of your videos, so that doesn't happen often.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that because, yes, I'm a hard man to shut up, as I have proven many times over. But so you're describing all these great worlds. You're describing all these characters, and now I know you mentioned you didn't really have aliens, but monsters. Like, is that gonna be an idea for down the road, or like?
No, I think there's enough to do in the human versions of stuff. So at some point, I'm gonna in my loose background, there is a robot revolution in the distant past of the Imperium. So I'll reinvestigate that theme again.
Okay.
I also envisioned doing like a split off human new prototype race. Have you ever heard of Exo Squad? It was a cartoon that Universal produced a way back, and they had these Neo Sapiens.
It sounds familiar.
Like blue skinned, yeah. And so I want to take that sort of idea of a split off human race. And again, at some point, the ancients start coming out of their, they come back, and then so that adds extra stuff to it. But no, like a lot of the board games right now I see on Kickstarter, they have like space monsters and stuff like that. That's not part of what I'm doing here. That's cool. You know, those aspects are neat. I love those in some of those games. There's a cool one out there right now called Silver River. Has these dynamite figures in it. Check that Kickstarter out too. It's sweet.
Nice.
But I didn't want to put that into it because, again, I'm really making this about the human element and war. You know, you talked a little bit about Dune. You know, that's I really like that flavor of that kind of universe where it's a long, entrenched, you know, politics and just struggle to control everything.
Okay, and actually, so now you mentioned, you know, that it is more so about the war aspect to it, and not so
Correct.
much like an individual story. Now, and again, that was completely intentional, right?
Yep.
Okay. Which, again, kind of refreshing in a stranger, because yes, obviously I'm one of those people who I much prefer having the more personal, individual kind of story. But if I'm getting a world that can set me up with seeing something that I haven't seen before, and it's given give this backdrop of this great battle, great war kind of thing going on, then that just, again, it piques the hell out of my interest. So now,
right, I think it's important to dole out small pieces like that. You know, like some of the cards will reference some character that's not even in the game. And I may not even create that character yet, you know, but it's sort of like laying the groundwork of, hey, there's some more here. I want to see that expansion when it comes out. Who the hell's the Pirate Queen he's talking about? You know, and then so, you know, again, laying that groundwork where it's just enough interest, but I don't want to take it and beat you over the head with it either, saying, here's my Darth Vader and everything you should know about him, you know, and allow you to go, this general's cool. We know he came from this massacre at a famous battle, but that's all we know. And so now I'm going to put him in my head of my army, and then he'll be more owned by me in my development of the game, because that's what it's about. Is about the deck building and creation. That's a really important part of it. A lot of playtesters said, you know, I would never do this. I would never spend 2 to 3 hours building my own deck before play. And it's like, yeah, that's fine, but you're not my target audience. And there's 10 trillion Magic players who will, you know, do that, you know, and there's proven that there's that crowd out there who wants to sit down. You know, the one time I was at the Source and doing a playtest session there, and we had finished playing.
I was gonna say,
and they were
isn't that the shop in up in Roseville?
Yeah. You have to check it out. All right. If you haven't been there, your life's incomplete. All right.
I've been there a couple of times. I quite like that shop.
Great.
But they don't have the comics I've been looking for, so I'm a little mad at them.
Yeah, that's a tough one with the comics. There are no more comic shops now. They're really gaming shops these days with new releases.
which bums me out, but you know, it is what it is. So we are going to start to wind this down, but I do have 2 more questions I want to ask you, and then we'll call it a night. So first one is, so you're starting off actually pretty strongly on your Kickstarters I've seen. Congratulations on your success so far.
Thank you.
But what's the next step once you've hit your main once you've hit the goal?
So once I've hit the goal, I'm probably at that point going to start writing the next Kickstarter. That's actually really popular now. A lot of these companies are producing each expansion or launch through Kickstarter instead of going off into another publisher. You know, if it's a success, there might also be potential people coming knocking on my door, you know, depending on that scenario. But I think for the short term, it'll be doing a couple expansions through Kickstarter, because once they funded you, they come back again, is the way it works. You know, and next thing you know, you have a big hit, and then people start looking at it. At some point, I'll be looking for some publisher to work with, you know, when it starts to get larger scale. But right now, it's probably just getting this Kickstarter finished and envisioning what the next 1 or 2 looks like, because it's so popular now for people to be doing that and doing each expansion through a Kickstarter release instead of having to self-fund it all.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. And one final question for you tonight. What are you the most... this is actually a two-part question. What are you the most proud of for having accomplished what you have so far, and what has been the biggest challenge so far?
The thing I'm most proud of is probably pulling together the diverse talent for it, all the artists, and what came out of that. It exceeded what I even thought. I thought maybe, half the art will be half decent because I'm not paying that much money in a sense versus like a magic artist, and will some of it be all right? And then maybe I'll look to replace art. But it's amazing stuff. People say that all the time. And so I'm really happy with the way it turned out. The game mechanics have been evolving over the last year, and it's sort of hit its sweet spot right now. The play test session, we did this last Wednesday. I mean, they had so much fun, and it's like, that's my moment where like I'm geeky. I wasn't even playing the game. I was just watching them play it. I'm a much better designer than I'm a player, actually.
Same.
And so I really enjoyed them doing it. It's my sandbox. I think that's why game designers do this. It's that ultimate come over to my house and have fun with my toys. This is the adult version of it, and I really enjoy that. Probably the biggest challenge thing is game design is easy. Kickstarter is hard. It's an incredibly hard tooth pull. There's so much work. I did all this by myself over the last year, finalizing the game and the art and the social media. I would never do it again that way. It was a horrible, long price for my family to pay for me spending hours working on this. When they say don't do it alone, they're not kidding. I mean, it's amazing. I'm glad I did it, but it's really incredibly hard. And the Kickstarter, has bottomed out a little bit in the middle of the month like it usually does. So it's going to be a lot of work to get to the finish line. It's really hard to get people's attention, to a platform, even when you think you already have a built-in audience. So it's a lot of social work, which is hard for me because I'm more of an introvert by nature, so that's been a battle for me to get out of my comfort zone and go to game stores and play this game, and it's a lot of work. And then I'm maintaining a day job, so how do you fit it all together in one box?
But before we close out here, I have a question of my own. It's gameplay related.
Sure.
I don't do a lot of games that require trading cards, so
right.
Forgive me if I sound like a newbie when I ask this. But you said that in regards to expansion packs, for the normal gameplay, you would sometimes foreshadow things that you haven't even arguably come up with yet in your
right.
own head. But I'm trying to figure out how much of the cards actually relate to how a person's gameplay can be completely their own story. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, when you foreshadow these things that you have not even thought of yet, do you sometimes worry about forgetting them and then handicapping yourself as you're building onto the lore that you've already created?
Correct. Correct. That is a good question. And I think that's part of why I haven't overwritten it. And the intro line to the game is very simple and a few paragraphs, because you're right. I don't want to box myself in a corner there, and I want the universe to be more open. There's a general idea of what's going on, and that'll probably come in more focus over time. But I think the more focus it'll get, the more danger of expectations. Well, you can't do that in that expansion because you already said this in the last expansion, and so I want to be careful because this is a card game, not a novel series. Hopefully I get to sell some novels down the road, and Seize the Imperium, the Flamethrower, and other add-ons, But I think that will be a challenge as time goes on because I don't want to say too much to influence stuff. There'll be a lot of parts where do these connect together? Maybe or maybe not. But the players can go, I want these two characters together. I'm not sure they should be together in the game, but I want them to be the backbone of my deck. And that's the exciting part, that really I miss from my days of Magic and Vampire. I built hundreds of decks that I tear down and never even brought into a game shop or played anyone because I was building a story as I was building the deck. and that's an important aspect to bring into this game.
Well, damn, I don't know if I could ask a better question than that to close this out, but Nico, well done. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Who Cares Anyway podcast. This was an incredible experience. So, please, Chris, let us know, let the audience at home know where they can keep up with your social media, where they can, once again, just refresh them on where they can do the Kickstarter, and just let them know how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, like I said, just go to Kickstarter right now, Seize the Imperium. That's pretty easy to find. The best way to stay in tune is go to seizetheimperium.com. And then from there, there's a subscription button. And I send out a monthly newsletter, so it tells you everything you need to know about, and where I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. So that's the best way to stay central to what's going on to the game.
And if you need to, you can follow him on Twitter at SeizeCard, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
Twitter was one of my late adoptions. I ran up to that 600 followers pretty quick in the last few months. I wish I had done that a lot earlier. I underestimated the use of that platform.
I was about to say we would kill to have 600 followers right now, but we're working on that ourselves. Nico,
absolutely.
Nico, where can the good folks find you online?
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube at Nico Suave Regoli. That's NicoSuaveRegoli. You can find me on Dedicated to Art and all the places Dohmen will say in just a moment or so. You can find me over on Combat Wrestling Network. That's the name of the YouTube channel. The Facebook is Combat Wrestling Trivia. We're having our first metalweight division match tomorrow live at 9 p.m. on the YouTube channel. And the Twitter, as flawed as it is and still needs a lot of fixing, is currently at Combat Wrestling 2, but it's wrestling, not wrestling, so there's no letter G in there.
You actually fixed it. Well done.
I did not fix it. I just got it reactivated. So again, that address is at Combat Wrestling, the number 2. So there's no G in there.
Goodness.
And finally, Multiplex Entertainment. That's the name of the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. The Twitter is at MultiplexYT. The Instagram is Multiplex Entertainment Network. The T-Poke is just Multiplex. Buy our awesome shirts.
Absolutely. And I do know, I have been informed that, speaking of Multiplex, I do have my follow-up singles match soon. I don't know what that means. I don't even know who I'm facing, but I know it's happening. So let's just hope whoever it is stays out of my way, and they just let me just win. And then I'll be happy. But until then, you guys can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Stardust, and Letterboxd at Skywalker Dohmen. You guys can follow this very channel on Twitter and Instagram at D2A Channel. Please like our Facebook page. And stay tuned for later this week. We have our Schmodown reaction as well as our Star Wars Resistance recap show, Viva la Resistance. 2 more episodes left, guys. I'm so excited. But, of course, until then, you all know what to do. Take care.
Yeah.
Thanks.